Welcome to our final session of CPAC Summer School. We've been looking at inclusion. Today we'll review some of the best practices and challenges to change. We always recommend that you check out our website at the Federation, www.fcsn.org, for the latest on scheduled workshops and resources. CPAC information can be found at the MassPAC section or the CPAC section of the website. Our learning objectives for today are to review all of those best practices. We had a session on inclusion in schools, in your CPAC, and in your community. And we're going to really talk about why change is so hard and discover who can help us in this process. The concept is always to work towards continuous improvement and celebrate our successes. I see CPACs as change agents, as an organization or a group within the school system that can really support change and inclusive activities. CPACs can help start, guide, and support new ways of doing things. They have outreach to many people within the school community, and they can be that spark of improvement. CPACs have a unique perspective and can identify the benefits of change for all of those involved. And I see them as coming to the table with solutions, helping to solve problems and overcome roadblocks, because we know systems are structurally set up and hard to change and shift. CPACs can be working within your communities to engage new partners in this process and to help others accept some new or fresh ideas. CPACs are advisors to the school district, but can be so much more in terms of bringing solutions to the table, starting good conversations. And I always think that asking good questions is a great way to spark good conversation, new perspectives, and maybe some new information needs to be brought forward to help explain things. So in our sessions, we identified some of the best practices in inclusion. In schools, CPACs can work with the district to review the Indicator 5 data. This is information that is collected by the school district and then given to the state as part of their report to the federal government. Indicator 5 is one of the special education indicators that looks to school environments. Wondering what is the least restrictive environment for different school settings for students. And so as part of their role under the law as an advisory body to participate in the planning, evaluation, and development of special education programs, having discussions around whether your school district is meeting the state targets around Indicator 5, having a percentage of students in the general education environment for a percentage of time. And so I think this is just a great place to have an annual conversation to drive more inclusive opportunities for students and to see how your district is doing with the target that the state has set. So that's one way that CPACs can be involved in an inclusion conversation within their school districts. Within your CPAC, we talked about reviewing all of the district data. The data can drive how you would like to be organized and practice, driving your bylaws and your operational procedures, understanding what is the percentage of students in each of the disability categories can help the CPAC understand how it can be representative of all of those different disability types. The same as age. and language, even physical location within a large community to make sure that you are having those voices as part of the conversation within your CPAC to make it as inclusive internally as possible to be fully representative of your community. And that might mean looking to um, translate materials, have interpreters at your meetings, moving your meeting to different locations within your community, and just meeting the needs of the members of your community. I also think it means to create a welcoming environment, having that message that you're welcoming all of those different perspectives. Many CPACs have kind of a welcome packet to bring new members or new interested people to the table with the tools that they would need, a copy of the bylaws, whether you have a mission statement, any meeting norms, always the agenda so that they can be welcomed and fully participate in your meetings. And driving inclusion within your community is going to, take some outreach on the part of the CPAC. You need to be aware of any current programs, and you can promote those if you have certain channels or at your meetings so that people are aware of inclusive opportunities for families and students with disabilities. And you might have to build some new relationships, meet people where they're at, go out and discover what is available in your community, and how you can build new partnerships with those already functioning groups within your community. The more you can connect and make them aware of the needs of having accessible spaces, accessible programming, sensory-friendly spaces within events makes the whole community more receptive to the needs of all individuals with disabilities. Unfortunately, change is hard. And it's because change takes a process, it takes time. And we know that our systems have layers of rules and habits, shortcuts, things that they've done over time. It just becomes very natural and easy. And it's hard to dismantle the way we've been doing things over time. There's so much comfort in doing the same thing. It's familiar, it's easier. So change is going to be hard. There may be barriers to that change, a fear of the unknown, of what's ahead, of why are we making this change, maybe fear of increased responsibilities on the part of people who are involved in organizations and groups, or maybe we don't have adequate resources. So we need to address lots of things when we're trying to promote change. And I think communication goes a long way to starting that process to understand the benefits of change, why change is necessary or beneficial for those. And I think you need to find your allies within systems. If you find that there is a roadblock, is there somebody who can help you kind of unlock the door, open the door, make that introduction so that it might be a little bit easier to move forward with some suggestions and some ideas and some changes. I think we need to look at what makes a good partnership, especially when you're working outside of the school community. Everything we know from family engagement says that you need to build a trusting relationship first before you can move forward. So, it's that what is the elements of having that trusting relationship? It goes to clear communication, maybe sharing vision, finding partners or allies that have complementary missions to what your organization has, what your CPAC is seeking to do within the community. Beyond even its advisory role is sometimes CPACs, create a mission so that they're looking to make the community more accessible and more accepting of difference. And so sometimes it requires a little flexibility on both parts. A trusting relationship is really two-way communication, two-way actions, two perspectives coming together. And so there is often a sense that you have to be flexible enough to come together and find out where you have those commonalities. And the willingness to share, whether your expertise or resources or vice versa on the part of another partner. To have a true partnership, it really needs to be doing it together and defining, how that's going to work so that there's clear expectations on the part of both sides. As part of this whole process, one tool that the CPACs can use, not only in kind of inclusion initiatives, but in other initiatives, is the Plan, Do, Study, Act. These are 4 phases, and they're designed to be repeated indefinitely so that you go through the process and it kind of repeats itself because it's a continuous improvement cycle. So the first step or the first phase is planning, developing an action plan, measurable goals, coming together and setting tasks that have to be done to meet your desired outcomes. Then you do it. Then you implement on either a small scale or a pilot, that you try it out. We suggest that you try it on a smaller scale so that you can get some feedback and see if it's working before you, invest a lot of time and energy into a very larger project. Because then you're going to study, you're going to collect and use data to see if you've met those goals. What are your outcomes? And what worked and what did not work? That's the best analysis, is just looking at, how did this implementation go forward? And then you're going to act and make any necessary changes and maybe roll out at a broader scale or to a different audience or to a different section. So you're now incorporating any feedback, any data that demonstrates that you needed to make those changes. And when you do roll it out on a broader scale, you have to have that plan. So you're going to go back to that part of how are you going to do this, that action plan, maybe same measurable goals, or maybe those goals will shift or change as a result of the information that you received. And you keep going around and around. So anytime you do something, if you implement a Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, it's going to help with the sustainability of any new initiative, and know that it's going to be continually informed by this data collection and study. And because we know things change over time, and you're going to have to shift and react and modify whatever you're doing based on the current environmental situation. So I think this is a really great tool for CPACs to implement in their process, especially when they're trying something new and different. I really think that we should be celebrating success, and everyone will define success a little bit differently. And I think we need to celebrate even the small successes, because sometimes that's all we have. And what that does, though, is it builds a sense of celebration, of achievement, of accomplishment, and it inspires us to move forward and try harder things. You can celebrate internally within your CPAC or school community. If you have any kind of social media output, how do you announce that, celebrate those, say thanks to those who supported you along the way. And it's a really good way for a CPAC to get itself known within the school community if you are accomplishing things and celebrating that and thanking those who have helped make that possible. I think CPACs and others should always celebrate in the larger community with your partners, with any kind of media within your community. Depending on the size of your community, there may be a local paper, a radio station, whatever is available. Where are people at? And how can you celebrate your accomplishments, recognize those, and say thanks to the community? Because it's also community support that is making your outcomes possible. And so if there's any way to highlight and celebrate, I think that's a great idea. If you can personalize it and share stories, that's really what takes it home and makes it real for people. And I just think we can't say thank you enough to those that are supporting the work that we do in our communities. So those are just some examples and some suggestions on how to move some of those best practices that you want to do in environments that might be resistant to change, and knowing that you're going to have to do some maybe groundwork to build those relationships to be able to make the change happen. Even small change is important because it's the catalyst for bringing more people together and maybe helping support to build a larger initiative. And depending on the size of your group, you may have to start small and just slowly build, and it may take years. So we just want to thank everyone for participating in the annual CPAC Summer School, and please continue to connect to the Federation, check out other videos on our YouTube channel, and thank you for participating this year. You can always connect to the Federation with your individual questions, or if you need a resource, either call or complete our intake form. Thank you for joining us today.